Good morning to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, here with your hurricane outlook and discussion for Monday, September 3rd, 2018. Right now, we do have Tropical Storm Gordon. It is has just now become official from the National Hurricane Center. Winds are 45 miles per hour, and it's moving to the west-northwest at 16 miles per hour. Currently situated near the vicinity of South Florida, and it's near the Upper Keys. So tropical storm warnings are now issued for portions of the southern Florida area and the Keys, and we'll take a look at this closer in just a moment. Where is the track map? Right there. Okay, good. So this is what the track map looks like. This is not updated. They're working on it. This is literally coming in right as I'm recording this. The tropical storm warnings now in effect for portions of extreme South Florida and the Keys as Gordon forms officially, and it'll move along this track towards the central Gulf Coast, making landfall sometime late tomorrow night. The center of circulation forecast to come ashore somewhere near the Mississippi-Louisiana line, but that's just the center of circulation. As you know, the inclement weather, the impacts will spread out far beyond these center points that are plotted on this particular map. So a large area of the central Gulf Coast will be impacted by this, the western Florida panhandle on into southeast Louisiana, and then spreading in from there. So Baton Rouge, Lafayette, Gulfport, Mobile, all places in between, I-10 corridor. Be careful, okay, if you're traveling. Heavy rain bands coming in, gusty winds, the possibility of water spouts over the water moving inland as tornadoes, and all sorts of other problems. Storm surge inundation. We will get a better idea of what that will be like later today. And I'll do another video blog this evening highlighting what impacts specifically to be on the lookout for. Just a reminder, back on the National Hurricane Center website, on their homepage, you just go to nhc.noaa.gov or hurricanes with an S, hurricanes.gov. And, look, the map still, this literally just hit the wire right as I was starting to record this. Still shows 7. They'll get it updated. It's fine. But there's a lot of great information inside of the box that they have for each of these systems, especially when they're approaching land. And these are all clickable graphics, the flash flood, the rainfall potential, storm surge, etc., wind, arrival times, key messages. This is where you can find that important information that's not just random, somebody said something, rumors, whatever. These are the facts, and it's right there at your fingertips. I put some of these into our app, the ones that I think are most relevant and helpful. I actually put these into the tracking section of our app to make it easy for you to follow along some of the very things that I follow. So it is Tropical Storm Gordon. It is headed towards the central Gulf Coast, and that's where I will be heading after I'm finished with this video. In fact, I'll finish packing up the Jeep Wrangler. That's my rental. The Chevy Tahoe that I've used for so many years is out of commission now. And so, hey, if you have a Chevy dealership and you would like an incredible sponsorship opportunity, I don't have to have a brand new vehicle, but a new set of wheels would be nice. And I'm dead serious about that. Send me an email. Let's talk. But yeah, I'll be packing up the rest of it's a rental, and you get what they have. It's a Jeep Wrangler, so I feel like a surfer dude or whatever. I don't surf, but it's ready to go. I'll post some pictures on Twitter and on our Patreon throughout the event. So this is the satellite imagery. There it is, Gordon, getting better organized over the Upper Keys. And again, all of this mess will move into the eastern Gulf and then eventually up towards the central Gulf Coast, spreading tropical storm conditions into that area. So be prepared. Not the worst event you've ever had. Obviously, you don't need me to tell you that. But do take it seriously. That heavy rainfall, you never know. 4, 6, 8, 10 inches in some places. That will cause localized flooding. Storm surge potential as this approaches from the southeast, moving to the northwest like that. The water piling up into that area, that little corner where Louisiana and Mississippi make that sort of sideways L. Be mindful of that, okay? And if you're new to the area, that can be problematic. And I will address that more in my evening update today. So we will get into that specifically later. There's Florence. Really got to keep an eye on this as heights build over the northwest Atlantic in about a week's time, effectively blocking this from going out to sea. So if you're in Bermuda and anywhere along the east coast of the U.S., you're going to want to watch this closely. We need to watch this system, and there are others over Africa, and it is only September 3rd. The much talked about ramping up of activity in September is happening. So kudos to the computer models. You may not want to see hurricanes. We don't like their impacts. They're fascinating to track, but you got to admit, I've been talking about this for at least 2 weeks, and I got that information from people that know what they're talking about, and it's pretty remarkable that we could see this coming that far out. I think you would agree with that. Even if the outcome isn't always what you're looking for, it's nice to know that it was coming, I think. So anyway, this is the vorticity signature. You can tell I've only slept for a few hours, kind of the anticipation. The vorticity signature, still a little elongated. We will watch this closely. I do have this graphic embedded into our app, Hurricane Impact, for iPhone. We had an Android version. It's just too expensive to try to keep up with that, so I took it off the Google Play Store. If you still have a copy from last year, most of the stuff should still work. But anyhow, in the tracking section, I put this in there because it's important to watch how this evolves over time. And the more round it looks like this, Olivia in the eastern Pacific, which is not going to affect land, by the way, if this becomes more rounded, even like this system that was not really even mentioned yesterday, I didn't even mention it, the vorticity shows us how much spin there is. And it's a little oblong, but as it rounds in its appearance, that'll tell us that it is getting better organized. In the meantime, there's Florence, plenty of time to watch, but we definitely want to do so. And then another disturbance, probably eventually Invest Area 92L, sometime soon, next day or so. Looking at the models, okay, or the model, I mean, we could go over all kinds of stuff, but I want to just show you the track for these systems over the next 10 days. Normally we don't look at beyond 7, but just to give you an idea of what I will be looking for down the road. This is the European, the ECMWF, off the Tropical Tidbits site. Always great work from Levi Cowan that puts all these graphics, including the satellite picture that I showed you. This is the initial map from last night, 0Z, which was initialized 8 p.m. Eastern Time last night. UTC, 0Z or Zulu time, that's what we call it. There's what is now Gordon, the reflection of it, energy in the atmosphere. There's Florence, and this other system coming off the coast of Africa. So let's go through these. These are 24-hour increments. So this would be valid tonight, Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. And there's Gordon now. And I think the Euro has a pretty good handle on it because it's already a tropical storm, and it shows up pretty well reflected in the 850 millibar vorticity field here. There's Florence. All right, so you see our players moving right along. This is valid Tuesday evening, and a pretty solid reflection here of Gordon as it approaches the coast. 50, 60 knot tropical storm wouldn't surprise me. Luckily, folks, this is a fairly small system, so the impacts are not going to be felt over a huge area. But where those occur, yes, you could get some surge and the other impacts that we talked about, which I will address even more, as I mentioned on tonight's update. Finally, going out to 72 hours, it's inland over interior Louisiana, a fairly significant rainmaker for this region, so be mindful of that. Once it's inland, it's not over. You'll still have the rain threat, so especially travelers, be careful and be aware. 96 hours, it's inland, even further, farther, whatever, over Arkansas, Oklahoma. That's the vorticity signature of it when I say it, right there. But again, big rainmaker through this region. But then there's Florence. You've been watching that, kind of weakening, and then this other system coming across, and then you had a fourth system, believe it or not, from there. Moving on along to day 5, and then day 6. You notice from 5 to 6 here, Florence weakens and then starts to come back. And then, watch this huge area of high pressure come out off of the southeast part of Canada, over the northwest Atlantic, so that at day 7, Florence slows down. By day 8, it turns northwest. By day 9, west-northwest towards the Carolinas. Finally, 10 days out, takes a hard turn to the west, right towards the North Carolina coast. Now, before you freak out and think this is what's going to happen, this is where I want to take just a moment to explain the keys to the game, so to speak. All right? We can look at this, the deterministic run. It's one run, one model. Yes, it's been showing a similar setup for a couple of days now, but what is the deal? Why is it doing this? All right? As Seinfeld would say, what is the deal with that? Not a Seinfeld impression. Anyway. What is the reason behind it? Try to stick here to being straightforward about this. Well, I'll show you. We can look at the anomalies in the atmosphere. Why wouldn't this just turn out to sea? That's what, we want to see happen in terms of no impacts to people. Well, it's blocked. These pressure readings up here in the upper parts of the atmosphere, anomalies, right there. See that anomaly, a departure from normal. And we're getting, fairly substantial height rises to the north and to the east of this system, Florence, at day 10. And this, too, was well telegraphed, actually months ago, that anomalous ridging would be prevalent over the northwest Atlantic, southeast Canada, blocking systems as they come across from just easily turning out to sea. That doesn't mean this won't turn out to sea. It does mean, and here's my point, we have the potential of an impact from a tropical system in about 10 days, somewhere along the East Coast or Bermuda. Wouldn't you rather have that heads up? Okay, I'll watch that. Instead of just, well, nothing's going on, I won't watch anything. That's all this is. This is just somebody waving at you from far away. I might be coming. So please just keep on top of this. I'm going to talk about it in the updates. But just be wary of any social media that gets a bunch of wild ideas about whatever. That can get off the rails very quickly. These are the facts. This is a model run that goes through the next 10 days. You see how it evolves? Yeah, we want to keep an eye on that because of the obvious implications of where it could end up and the reasoning behind it. This definitely gives me concern. And 10 days in, this day and age, if we get that much notice that it could be heading our way, I think that's a blessing. So keep that in mind. I'll be on top of it, but don't start worrying about it just yet. Surfers, yeah, you might start getting excited. I will give you that. Real quick look at the radar. This is where Gordon is located down here in the upper Keys. Again, this will move through this area and eventually up towards the Gulf Coast, spreading a lot of action up this way. I have also embedded the Miami radar into our app under the tracking section. So it's all right there. It's what I look at. I actually use the app myself because I've posted all these graphics that are my go-to graphics, and they're right there in the app. Just thought I'd mention that. Also, this is what Patreon looks like, and this is the new, well, it's a few years old, but I've been with it for a couple of years. This is how I fund, or part of the way I fund what I do. It's crowdfunding, and I just wanted to show you how this works. So if I make a post, it'll show up here for our patrons, and they get the first access, and then they get access to things that other people don't. I mean, you got to have rewards, right? So this is what it looks like. I can post stuff on the go, little video clips, like 15 seconds from wherever I am, and it's really awesome. So I really appreciate this new way of supporting or becoming a patron. You know how you patronize, wherever you eat or a clothing store or whatever. You can support creators such as myself, and I work for you. I love that. That's awesome. So thank you for the support. I need to get these numbers higher so I can do more. Got to pay the bills. This is my job, but I also want to add more equipment. I want to pay people to help me, and we're getting there. We're almost, approaching the halfway point. We're about a third. What is that? A quarter. Actually, a quarter of the way there. It's still early, but progress is being made. So that's Patreon. I'll post the links to videos there first, etc. Speaking of video, I will be live later today. No reason to stream live and waste bandwidth just driving out of North Carolina and South Carolina and whatever. Once I get past Atlanta, I'll turn the YouTube live on, And so if you're watching this on the YouTube channel and you're subscribed, turn the notification on so you'll know when I go live. And when I'm live, then we can talk about things instantaneous. That's always nice. And then I'll have the YouTube running throughout the rest of this event. All right, well, let me finish up here, stop yapping, and pack up my gear and hit the road for Mississippi. A lot going on. The month of September was promised to be big, and here it is. All right, so be careful out there, wherever you're traveling, especially into that area where Gordon will be heading. I'll be there later this evening, and we will take it from there. I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. Thanks as always for watching. I'll see you next from somewhere on the road.